may mobilize people, and the fear doesn't let you take a next step forward. Today, to talk about it, we have Dr. Nachiketa Sinha with us. Dr. Sinha has worked as a consultant psychiatrist in New Brunswick. He received his psychiatric training at Cambridge Deanery and worked in the UK after graduating from Karnataka University. He's an assistant professor at Dalhousie University in Halifax, holds an executive MBA in healthcare from the University of British Columbia, and he's also authored a very, very popular book on self-help, Empower and Strong. He's our guest speaker today. And our other panelists, we have Dr. Rajkumar Jha. He, after almost 4 decades of exciting experience with Ogilvy and a prominent advertising in our agency in our country, we have a scintillating career graph that he has working with top brands and FMCG companies. He's currently engaged in community service in Bihar, making difference in the lives of people. Rajkumar Jha, he's a writer, narrator, director at a rural campus, a NGO in Bihar. He's a visiting faculty as SPJ, IFTR, and MICA. Our other panelist is Ms. Bela Negi. She's a storyteller, filmmaker, writer, and a social reformer. After course in film editing from the Film Television Institute of India, she's directed the film Daएं and Ya Baएं. A short story was featured in Kitab by the Best Asian Short Stories in 2021. She's a founder trustee at Leafbird Foundation that works to empower women and children in the rural belt in Uttarakhand. She currently resides in Mumbai, in Maharashtra. I'm your moderator for the evening, Vineeta Jerath Grover, with the media and communication background for 25 years. I'm a co-founder and editor of SUBURB and a chairperson for Women Empowerment Federation of Indian Industries, and a certified NLP and EFP practitioner, and also a Reiki channel. So as we move forward in our today's session, we'll be talking about what exactly is fear of failure, what really happens, and how we actually, uh, stop acting and stop promoting ourselves into the way we really want to go, because we are so scared of falling. We just stop moving ahead. Also, antiphobia, which is an irrational and persistent fear of failing. The fear of this fear can actually make us so anxious and get us into a sense of depression and anxiety all the time that we just do not allow ourselves to take any decision. We stop our forward progress in life, and we are likely to miss some great opportunities along the way. Before we really get into the depth of it and delve into what success and failure is, because that's another thing that we sometimes believe, that success and failure is also a mindset. It is in the head of the person. What success means to you may not mean to me, and so on and so forth. Going forward, I'll invite Dr. Rajkumar Jha, Mr. Jha, to come and talk to us about how he, from a advertising career, which is, of course, I'm sure, a very scintillating and a very cushiony and maybe very exciting career. So, how did he take a plunge into going to Bihar and starting something so very different after his 40 years at Ogilvy? Mr. Jha?
Thank you. Thank you. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, Mr.
Uh,
Jha.
okay. Uh, well, it was always on cards. It was always on cards that I'll go back to my village. Uh, See, I don't understand this word called fear. We've never faced it. But I have seen it being instilled in people right from childhood. You have fear of, oh, I may wet the bed. Oh, I may write B like D and D like P. I may put C like C, and my A may be Teda. So all these fears are put into us by our own parents, by our own teachers, by our own neighbors, everybody, and they make you slowly conscious about your surrounding, that what your surrounding is going to say. In Bangla, they say, "Look, ki bolbe." What will people say? And we never had that kind of. At least I never had that kind of a problem. Uh, my whole family is well educated, kind of a background, everybody. And right at a very childhood stage, I declared ki I will not study, which was like unheard thing in my family. But and everybody did give me that. What will you do? You will fail in your life. You will not do graduation. You will not do schooling. You will not do. What will you do? I said, I'll manage. Whatever I'll manage, I'll manage. So I never had this fear of failure at all. And kept on going. So, and advertising was also not something which was served on platter. Nobody understood. Nobody taught us. It was quite difficult, challenging. We used to fail every day. We'll take an artwork to a client, and client will throw it down, or the boss will throw it down. So failures were every day. It was like part of the life. So never thought it that it's kind of a failure. And we always took it as this is the way it is. You get good pat on your back one day, someday somebody says, no, this is all bakwas, go back to the board. And that's how it has been going. And 2007, I had a surgery of my back, which left me a lot what I never wanted, like my below waist, legs, and everything started, less of sensation. And the way it was explained to me at that time was that I'll not be able to walk ever. I can urinate at any point of time. I can pass stool. And then I started opening up slowly and slowly. And my fear was always, okay, I'm today speaking to this in this conference, and if something happens, so I told my mind, I told my audience that look, I suffer from this, and it may happen. So don't worry about it. It's part of life. So it's for me. It is you put your weakness right in front and say it, but obvious, so your fears don't stay. But having said that, if you ask me today, I do have two fear. One which lives with me, which is fear of not getting sleep. This I have not been able to somehow work on. Uh, that fear that I will not get sleep does not let me sleep. So it's part of insomnia kind of a thing. And another fear which I have is old age. That is something which I really fear a lot. What will happen when I will not be able to do things of my own? So these two fear are there, but any fear of any project failure was never there. Somehow we are partly agriculture background people. For us, we fail every day. Every season, either the rains fail us, or the floods fail us, or the drought fails us. Something fails us. Be the grain, something. It's never been a hunky dory like, oh yeah, we've done so great things this year. Something or the other will fail us. So failure is part of life. And when it comes to taking decisions and failing, that's how we've been taught by parents, by teachers, whoever we work with. At that given point of time, this was the best decision I took. So there's nothing called guilt. There's nothing called repentance. At that moment, I took the decision which was the best decision of that time, or to my best of knowledge. I failed, so be it. We always call it, it's not failure, it's learning. And unless you do it, you will not be able to. A lot many times in theater also this happens. You start practicing, and you practice every day. I mean, every part of it. You even count number of breaths and number of steps you will take to reach from one point to another and deliver your dialogue. But that fear. But there's a distinction between fear and butterflies. Butterflies are good. They keep you agile. They keep you happening to they keep you on toes. They make you work around. Fear puts you down. It just does not let you work. So it is better you fight this enemy right day one. Nothing called fear. Uh, Sometime long back, I had read a line said that fear is a dark room where negatives are developed. So I just don't stay in that dark room. For me, fear is non-existent. it just makes you be there. It lets you that there's something to worry about a little bit, but it shouldn't get on to you. And so I shut my advertising. I went back to agriculture, started working with communities, and it is always in process. I enjoyed this also. I again shut this down. I'm come back here to do. Right now, I'm doing advertising for COVID. I will shut that, go back to my farm. So it's just moving boggies from here to there, but nothing called fear. Like I just don't let that animal get into my, except for those two pillars which I told you: the fear of not getting sleep and fear of getting old. These are only two fears I have.
Yeah, that's so well said. Actually, fear is nothing but it's actually a learning. So it's just the way we look at
Yeah.
things, and the rose glasses that we are wearing is what exactly changes the whole dynamics of the word fear. So I think from here, let's talk to Dr. Sinha. Dr. Sinha, what exactly is this anxiety and the fear that people really face, and this emotional and behavioral symptoms of fear of failure?
Well, thank you, madam. Um, Charles Sahab has already said so many things,
Yes.
you know, and to the point. I mean, very, very important points. Um, and actually, I'd like to revisit some of the points he made. The apprehension about, you know, what is going to happen, and speculation about what's going to happen, looking 5 steps ahead. That you know, is everything going to be all right or not? That takes away our ability to focus on the now. So if I think about something 5 steps ahead, कि ऐसा करेंगे तो वो होगा तो वो होगा तो वो होगा, then suddenly I realize I'm way out in the future somewhere, and in that, you know, speculative future, I've created a problem for myself. But this problem that I've created for myself in the future, I bring it back to my present because now I'm trying to solve it. But I can't really solve a problem that doesn't exist. So now I'm stuck with a speculative problem, जो है ही नहीं, I'm trying to solve it now, which creates a sense of apprehension and anxiety. It's the idea about the unknown. For example, not knowing what's going to happen, and then sort of looking at reasons about why I will or why I won't. But an important point also that again Jahasab touched upon was I think Jahasab, to quote him, Bengali mein aap bataye, he said, ki bolbe. I mean, what an amazing way of summing it up. I mean, that is the essence of external validation. I'm constantly looking outside of me to figure out whether I'm doing all right or not. कि सामने वाला, am I doing all right? क्या मेरा ठीक आ रहा है photos पे? ये मेरी आवाज आ रही है? Am I doing all right? Did I answer the question right? So this constant sense of external validation where I only feel okay about myself, the person in front of me, whoever they might be, but from my parents, those peer, you know, schoolmate, teacher, all that stuff. I mean, some of them might be well-meaning, but some of them might not be, or some of them, you know, just say things for the sake of saying it. But the problem with that is that my life becomes constantly about looking towards the outside, and I don't look inside. What do I think about things? हम क्या सोच रहे हैं? Am I okay about what decisions I make, and so on and so forth? So if I'm able to focus more and more within, what that leads is to, it kind of frees my mind to make a decision which suits me. So I no longer rely on how the external world wants to see me, or how, you know, or how it wants to, how it wants me to perceive myself. I mean, again, as a people, you know, as a culture, um, I think we're very fearless people, and I'll tell you why. If you take everything away, सब कुछ ऊपर से निकाल के, let's come down to the core. You know, the very idea about सब ठीक हो जाएगा, जुगाड़. What is that? That is the exact opposite of fear, is it not? Regardless of क्या हो रहा है, परसों से Commonwealth Games start होने वाला है, हो जाएगा, ठीक हो जाएगा, bonus कुछ हो जाएगा, bridge टूट गया, कोई बात नहीं, time पे बन जाएगा. This idea, where does that come from? That come from the, you know, the kind of people, the nature of the people we are. Another not so, you know, happy example perhaps, but to me a very telling example was when COVID hit. और वहाँ दिल्ली बम्बई में हो गया कि चलो जी बिहार के लोग वापस जाओ, ये वो. So people just got up and left. For the world, it might have been something that, oh, look what's happening. But in my mind, I saw this huge surge of fearlessness and the idea that there's no apprehension. That ek kadam ke baad, next step rakho, and then you'll get to your destination without worrying about what, kya hoga, 10 question puchna ye wo. So I think we already do, by the way, live our lives free of a certain amount of fear. And where we don't, we have to be mindful and allow ourselves to see that speculation is not the answer to our solutions, but to focus on the now and the process. But abhi jo kaam kar rahe hain, sahi kar rahe hain ki nahi? And which is what leads to what Jerath was talking about. Maaf karega Jerath, I'm quoting you again and again, but aapne baatein aise boli ki quote karna pad raha hai aapko. So Jerath, the point he made was that, about guilt about decisions not being there. The important concept of that is that if I know that today, based on today's circumstances, I've analyzed the situation, I've looked at the pros and cons, and made my decision, which I think is right. It doesn't have to be what the world thinks or about, I don't want external validation. I think this is right based on my situation, so I make a decision. Now, tomorrow, circumstances might change, and I might have to change my decision. But the guilt is not there because I know that I made my decision based on, looking at things objectively and so on. So, yes, so I think that a bit of speculation, a bit of apprehension and anxiety, though, can be a driving force. But anything more than, I guess, moderation is what we're worried about, where, as you mentioned earlier, madam, that it kind of brings down our ability to grow. So, yeah, thank you.
So can we also say that the definition of success is very different from person to person, because possibly the definition is more about what the people outside perceive about us, and rather than we living a fulfilling life. Maybe in terms of what we are delving is about what the social media says, what the other person thinks. Somebody else's success dynamics would be maybe to make money, and for me it could be to trust, to serve the community. But because the skeptical way of looking at it is a particular way you should be in a society and how it is.
Right.
So doesn't that also give us some kind of a fear, Dr. Sinha?
That's an excellent point, because I've always maintained that success and failure both are very, very subjective. In the sense that, humko kya lagta hai? How do I feel of what matters to me? But if I've never given a moment to myself in understanding what I really want and what drives me, then I can't even begin to answer that question, for myself. But if I'm honest with myself and I've given time to myself and understand myself really, then I know what my success looks like and what my failure looks like. But the problem in society is, and this is not today's society, this is society from forever, is that the measuring scales of success are not subjective. Ek scale ban gaya hai, number 1, number 2, number 3. Us pe apparently you're measured whether you succeed or not, and so on and so forth. But how can that, objective scale, which has no clue about me as an individual, as me as a person, make a judgment about me? It has no idea how I'm different from somebody else, from somebody else, from somebody else. On the surface, people might think they understand because they get to see the top of the head. But in reality, kya hai, where I come from, kahan se aaye, kahan jana hai, what I'm about, mera journey kya hai, what I believe in, like you said, ki maybe paisa nahi to ye to, apna feeling of satisfaction and so on. So mera success kya hai, what matters to me is how I measure my own success. So when people look outside, ki acha bagal wale ka IIT mein ho gaya aur mere bete ka nahi hua, then that is where you see that conflict. We're constantly looking towards the outside about to define my own success and failure, whatever it might be. Why do I have to look outside of myself and then make a judgment? I'm going to look inside and figure out what it means to me. So that was a very good point. We have to make it about the individual. We have to make it about us as people and then decide where we stand. And that should be enough for all of us. But many times, it doesn't work out that way. because we don't know sometimes how to focus on ourselves. Thank you.
From here, we move to Bela Negi. Bela is a wonderful person. I would actually want to start with this. And of course, being a filmmaker, a storyteller, writer, and she's also a social reformer. So, coming from a place like Nainital, she decided to, look into and dig her dreams in Bombay as a storyteller and a film editing person. And she's directed a film also. It wouldn't have been easy for you to actually look into your dreams, and that fear of failure would be absolutely constantly haunting you somewhere because it is a very volatile place out there, outside the comfort zone of from where you've studied and where you've grown up to going to absolutely an unknown, starry town. What have you to say about it, Bela?
Yeah. Thanks, Vineeta, for the warm introduction. Actually, everything that I wanted to say in general about has already been said, but I can perhaps share my individual sort of experience with you. Yes, it was and especially when I came to Bombay in the 90s, it was not filmmaking now is considered like a very regular profession. Being in the media is quite regular. At that time, especially in a small town, it was not something that anybody, people usually did, and especially a woman. So, but fortunately for me, my parents never really opposed my decision. And of course, they gave, I was free to come and be in Bombay. But once you reach here, you realize that it's not so easy to obviously, as it is, filmmaking is a profession which is, as you said, volatile. There are no certainties. So you have to be the kind of person who can deal with that sense of uncertainty. You don't know where your next paycheck is coming or if it is coming at all. It could be years before you have a job which is going to pay you anything. And it also depends on some individual decisions that you're taking. You may decide that, it's important for me to earn money, have the regular house and, all the security that I need to survive in the city. Or you can take the decision that, there is something I've come here to do. I've come here to tell certain kind of stories. I have my own voice. And no matter what, I don't mind being a struggler for a long time. And if I need to struggle, I am going to struggle to make that happen. So, these are very, very individual decisions. There is nothing right or wrong in that. Some people may want to get into more comfortable setups, may want to join up with production houses that are already doing well, or work in films that are successful, likely to be successful. Or you may then choose to just stick to your own voice. So I would think that I did the latter. I did decide that there is a certain kind of stories I want to tell, and there is a particular reason that I've come to Bombay. I wasn't drawn to films because of the glamour aspect of it or anything like that. So yes, so I kind of stuck to my guns. It's been difficult. You continuously feel that you're probably going to be a struggler all your life, but there is an immense sense of satisfaction when your projects happen and you're doing it in exactly the way that you want to. And you do gather a lot of like-minded people around you, who then become your support, people who like your work, you appreciate their work. And especially coming from the Film Institute, when I studied there, definitely we made a whole set of friends there who have been the support, through the years. So I think that is very important, is to build a sense of community wherever you are. You will always find people, even in the most sort of circumstances that are not very stable, you will find a community of friends who are like-minded, and those people have helped you go through the difficult times. And specifically also, if I were to say about the COVID times, where there's anyway a lot of uncertainty in our profession, and COVID added even more uncertainty. You're not really sure if your projects which were supposed to start off, when they're going to start off, if they're going to happen at all, what's going to happen to, let's say, films in general. Are people going to go back to theaters? So there was a lot of uncertainty, and was always that group of friends and that community that really helps you through that kind of time. So I think I would say that one of the ways to deal with the uncertainties and the fears is to develop a real set of friends, to really be able to share your work in an intimate way with people and to be able to also enjoy their work. And I just wanted to add, if I may, to what Dr. Sinha was saying, and which was, something that I did think I would talk about, is that for me, of course, I have extended my the work in filmmaking to, going back into Uttarakhand and working in rural areas, because actually that is what I wanted to do, even through my films, is to talk about certain issues that are very integral to that, a landscape that is changing very fast. And for me, what has really become important is to communicate that how do we look at failure and success? I'm repeating what Dr. Sinha said, but I think it is something that needs a lot of emphasis, is that why are we all trying to look at a very homogeneous idea of success that is prescribed to us through the social media, through advertising, through, there are a whole lot of books on success, a lot of peer pressure. And this has become increasingly something that worrying, to see that whereas success was like a very individual idea, that now it has become a very homogeneous sort of idea which is being prescribed to people, and that it is almost as if that notion is also romanticized, that you must have this perfect family, you must have all these material things which must be put on display on social media, because unless you have this, your life is not successful. So that has very much replaced our individual idea of success. And I really think that while social media has been great in many ways, when we don't need to enumerate those the ways in which it has had positive effect, but this is something, this whole thing, the FOMO, which they talk about, the fear of missing out, that has become so acute in the younger generation, as well as the aspirational value of everything has become so great that we really now need to take a step back and to really assess ourselves as an individual, and to understand what does success mean to me, and how do I move towards my individual idea of success. So sometimes, like when I work in the villages, it's become quite common, to see that there is, there is a villager who's, it's a village in the middle of nowhere. There aren't even roads leading up to the village. But this person is connected to the larger world through his mobile. And so there have been a couple of cases where, these really poor farmers have sold the land because they want their children to have what they couldn't, and what they see, in social media, through television, they want their children to. So they've actually sold their land, taken big loans, and sent their children abroad. Because for them, that is the idea of success that they want to move towards. And of course, this phenomena, of course, exists in small cities and, in big cities, smaller towns, definitely. But it is very ironical that a person who lives in such a remote place and who really has no idea what his son is going to go outside for is also prescribing to this standardized idea of success. So yeah, so so I feel that everybody needs to sort of take a step back, and for parents also to understand that they have to reassess the way the values of success that they're passing on to their children.
Sure. Bela, but here I would actually want to ask you, see, especially you're in the film industry, and of course, we understand that every project that you would take may not even reach the floors, and as we understand how difficult it is to move from one step to the other. And usually, also the success model is that if you are successful means you have a accomplishment right in front of you. Nobody really talks about the journey.
Correct.
But I think journey is equally important, or maybe more important than the destination or the accomplishment that finally we reach, because accomplishment is just a final outcome of all the struggle and the learning that has happened on the way. But so what you think? I'm sure you would have also dealt with so many times when things wouldn't have worked out well for you.
Sure, sure.
And there would be people around who would not be so, going on telling you, all right, give it a second thought. What do you want to do? Do you want to stick around or move ahead? So how did you cope up with that pressure and that fear of that I need to move on?
So, I mean, for me, very early on, I had decided that for me, like the idea of coming into a creative field and trying to make films, trying to make stories and writing scripts and writing stories was a very, very, a decision which I mean, of course, I would be very happy if I had made like many, many successful films, and so I'm not trying to deny. Everybody wants success. Everybody wants, but for me, it was more important to tell my stories than to make successful films. So that was a decision I made very early on. Is that either I can, sort of join in into projects that are likely to be successful, sort of attach myself to production houses that are going to, doing big projects, big commercial projects. Or what I'm going to do is take the slightly more difficult and a more arduous route of making films that I really want to make, and which for me is has meaning in a larger sense. So all my stories are rooted like in the in a particular context of rural Uttarakhand, and that is what I have tried to say. So yes, it is a difficult journey because there is no certainty. Projects are cancelled. Sometimes the commercial viability of your projects is always put into question. People may love what you're writing, but they probably feel that it isn't the best project to put their money into. So yeah, I mean, it's a tough choice that you make. That you do decide that you're taking the you have to pay for your choices, right? So if you have made the choice to choose a slightly difficult route, then you have to pay the price by giving up on a few things, So yes, but at the end of the day, if you feel frustrated by that choice, then then I guess you need it is time to sort of try and do the things that you missed out on. But for me, it has been fulfilling to stick to what I decided to do. So I hope I've answered the question.
Yeah, absolutely. I think in between there was some connectivity problem or something, I guess. So I'll come to Dr. Sinha from here. Dr. Sinha, usually there, people have that fear of failure sometimes right from the childhood. Sometimes the fear of failure, it could be a situational thing that would have happened while they were very young, and hence that trauma continues. And it's also said that the fear of failure is very, very strong in people whose parents have been very critical or judgmental in their childhood days. So what have you to say about that, Dr. Sinha? And how can we really, as we move forward, how can those people be helped?
Yeah, that's a very good point. And I think that both the previous panelists had briefly talked about how both of them had a sense of freedom from, from the home environment where it wasn't, nothing was thrust upon and allowed to be who you want to be, so to speak. So, and not everybody has that sort of luck, I guess, and because many times you find that as children are growing up, then sort of the होता नहीं कि बाप का सपना बेटा पूरा करेगा या बेटा समाज के लिए, that kind of, or मेरी बेटी ये करेगी वो दिखाएगी. So the idea that somehow I have to carry forward the dreams and aspirations of a family or a community and so on, that is all fine when you talk about it in storybooks. But in reality, what happens is that it puts an unimaginable amount of pressure on the person who's there. Now, hum log baithe hue hain, we're all here on the panel, baat kar rahe hain aapas mein. We're all adults, and we have an ability to talk and express ourselves, and hum log khul ke baat kar rahe hain, we're talking freely. But imagine being a child, 5, 6 years old, 3, 4 years old, 7, 8 years old, where the child's very existence depends literally and figuratively on the people around them. It's as basic. I know that it's a rare thing, but and loving parents are not like that. But it's as basic as that. It's as basic as that. That's how basic survival is. And in that situation, when you're looking at the child, you're looking up at the people around you, and then a sense of disappointment forms, where there was an expectation from me, but for some reason I couldn't fulfill it. Then that sticks with me. And as I grow up and I'm going through life and so on, that sense of disappointment, which might, not have for example, if most of us were to look back and ask our parents now that, oh, by the way, that time, all those years ago, when you said this, what did you mean by that? They perhaps don't even remember, or they'll say, "Tumhare bhale ke liye kaha tha," and so on and so forth. But the impact it has on the child is significant enough to create a sense of anxiety that carries on. So the idea is that, again, going back into figuring out what the individual wants for themselves, and and knowing that there is unconditional love, whereby my parents don't love me because of what I do, or don't love me because I succeed, or because I'm good at that, or because I'm very good looking, or because I got 100 in mathematics. No, my parents love me for the simple reason that I'm their child. And if this base is strong, if that understanding is strong enough, that it allows the confidence in oneself. Imagine if this base was like a sort of a stone on the side of the water, and it allows you to take a strong step into the unknown, because कि मेरा base मजबूत है. Regardless of whatever it is, or regardless of how the world might find me, my family, my parents, and people around me, they care about me just because of me being who I am. And that sense of calmness and confidence is important. Of course, I'm not talking about the crime karne nikal gaye to ghar aake maa boli shabash beta tumhara beta hai ja salo Kumar. Of course, my conversation is with bounds of reason, but that's what's important. Otherwise, we grow up with this sense of constant anxiety, which stops us from taking the next step. Agar ye theek nahi hua to boss kya bolega? So kal tak jo the role that that my parents were playing is now taken up by a difficult relationship that gets taken up by my peers, or then gets taken up by my boss. So all my life, I always bring somebody in my life who's constantly there to tell me if I'm doing right or wrong, which in sort of by extension also means that there's constantly somebody in my life who I keep disappointing. So what does my life become? A series of disappointments. And I suffer. And that's an important thing to understand. That's why the external validation thing is so important, where bahar nahi dekh ke, and understand, we're bound by rules and regulations, and society mein rehna hai to ye wo, I understand that. But having that much confidence in ourselves, that comes from how our childhood goes. So yeah, thank you. Very good, great point.
Vila, I also feel, Raj here, that these things should be taught right from the beginning. Right now, these buckets of failure are being given to us by our parents, which is actually their failure. They didn't do much better in life. So if you today, like I sit down in my society for some time when all these kiddos come, Mota uncle aa gaya, Ganja uncle aa gaya, they bang on my head, they do whatever, and the mothers keep saying, hey, he's a senior guy, why are you doing like this to him? Behave yourself, you should be doing. And then I figure out the amount of pressure these kids have. They got to go swimming, they have to go riding classes, they have to have music classes, they have to have painting classes, they have to go to dancing, they must participate in college, school festival, I mean, they have to be Einstein even before they were born. I mean, how will they live? How will they survive? And
A
that
great
pressure is
point, sir.
being created. And unless people learn this, I mean, okay, I don't speak Queen's English. Who decided this is right and wrong?
Say
I
that.
lowered down my
So,
I lowered down my thing that I'll not speak
um,
grammatically writing.
I'll actually go to Mr. Jha from here. Uh, yeah, so true.
That connection, I guess.
Chasam, you were saying something. We missed out on the last bit. It's quite a
Yeah, I'm saying people create it for themselves. People just keep creating it for themselves. What will people say? What will I do? क्या होगा? Fail हो जाएगा. फिर से शुरू करें.
say about
I
that.
remember I was doing a film project. I was doing a film project, just say about 2 seconds, in a school, and it was a biology class. So this teacher gave each one of them a animal of which they were supposed to take out some system, some nervous system or whatever system, and he didn't explain it to them that where it is, where are they supposed to look at it. So I asked him, why are you not telling him? They will break. He said, let them. That is the way they will learn. They will know where it is. So by failure you will learn. If you hit somebody or you hit an accident, if you don't allow that man to drive again, he'll never drive. No sooner he has to be put back onto steering, go drive.
So, in
Who
other
does
words,
that?
there are a lot of things that Mr. Jha one can really learn out of failure. Would you
You
want to
always
really
learn only.
elaborate on that?
You always learn. You always learn. If we didn't learn, they were not failures. They were experiments. That's how you learn that if you will mix green with yellow, some color will come out. If you mix this, that will come out. We write so many scripts. I'll give you like Bela is sitting here who says she comes from Nainital. I was very fascinated by that place, Cobalt, and my own village is far off from Delhi. I always wanted a village break, so I took a house near Cobalt, in Kota Bagh. I still have the house. I still have that, and then I started doing farming also because I always was associated with farming. Only late I thought, oh, I put in so much of effort by renting land. I have my own so much land, so why don't I go do and there? So now what? ये भी है, वो भी है. And my wife keeps saying, what a bad investment this was. It is like my kids say, loveliest investment it is. We go there for breaks. So for some it is good, for some it is bad. You keep learning, you keep experimenting, bundling, rebundling. I mean, how can life be so compartmentalized that it has to be right? We are not into diamond business. Like it has to be cut 32 crystal point. कोई टेढ़ा भी होगा, टेढ़ा है पर मेरा है, क्या प्रॉब्लम है?
Just picking up also from what Mr. Jha said, he was talking about like mothers taking their children for various hobby classes. And, that is also so surprising that when we were young, we had to really beg to, indulge in hobbies like dance and singing, and now it has almost become like a punishment because for children they're forced to, be competitive even in areas which are supposed to be just for pleasure. I mean, and one would think that actually to break the stress of, to break the to be away from the cycle of success, failure in your career, hobbies is such a great thing to indulge in. But what happens there is that even that becomes so competitive, which again I'm trying to link to, say, for instance, like bird watching has suddenly become so popular in the last few years, that people, and there is genuine pleasure because I'm also a new bird watcher in the sense that in the last 5-6 years, I have been, sort of enjoying this hobby, and it gives you so much pleasure. But when you actually go to any place, you see that there are so many people, standing with their bazookas, because they are these huge lenses which are not really like cameras, but they're like bazookas, and they will stand all day, to get one shot of that bird. Now, while I understand that some people may be professionals and it is a genuine hobby, but for a lot of people, even that is a pressure. I better have very good photographs of the birds because I need to post it on social media, because unless I have done that, then my hobby is not validated. So we have become so geared to taking out the pleasure out of everything, that we cannot enjoy things just for ourselves. That if we don't share it on with the world, then we may as well not do it. The idea of individual enjoyment and individual validation, that somehow is slowly disappearing, and which is very worrying.
Yeah, true.
And
Actually,
all
in
this
the
has been built up, over the years by this education and examination system, which I'm very, very against of. You can't teach me holier than judge me in 3 hours, kind of a thing. And that's where the fear comes in. मैं fail हो जाऊंगा, मुझे वो वक्त पे वो याद नहीं आएगा, मुझे आ जाएगा अगर उसको आप आराम से बात करोगे, वो सब कुछ समझा देगा आपको. पर अगर किसी के भी कंधे पे बंदूक लगा के बोलोगे 3 घंटे में लिखना है, अच्छे को नहीं आएगा. I can tell you, if I put the teacher back on the chair and say write it, she will also fail.
correct.
So this fear thing, we have to somehow, like, in today's environment, suppose I want to study economics of filmmaking, do I get a course like that? ये किसने कहा है कि तुझे फिजिक्स के साथ बायोलॉजी पढ़नी पड़ेगी? मुझे नहीं इंटरेस्ट बायोलॉजी में, मुझे फिजिक्स में है. और फिजिक्स के साथ मैथ्स पढ़नी पड़ेगी, ये किसने कहा है? मुझे फिजिक्स में है. हम आप उसको वो नहीं करने देते जो वो करना चाहता है. एक बार आप उसको कर, I keep watching YouTube music videos, and there is this college of music, Berkeley, I think that's what they call it. And you listen to their songs, they keep singing Rahman songs and all, and they are not all from India, they are from all over the world, and they are singing these Indian Hollywood, Bollywood songs, and they're so happy. They're happy because they're doing what they love, and you don't go wrong there, because it's the same music composition of 7 notes. You don't go wrong. And if you go wrong, you begin something new, you create something new. तो आप अगर वो करोगे जिसमें आपको खुशी मिलती है, जिसमें आपको अच्छा लगता है, तो ये फेलियर वेलियर कुछ नहीं होते हैं. ये अपने दिल का डर है, इसको निकाल के बाहर फेंक दो. कुछ नहीं होने वाला इससे, ना कोई खिलाने वाला है, कोई बोलेगा. अभी अभी मैंने एप्लीकेशन थोड़ी दिया था कि मुझे मोटा होना है, उसने दी नहीं दिया था कि उसको पतला होना है. वो मोटा है, मैं पतला हूँ, क्या फर्क पड़ता है? It's just, you just have to take things lightly. It is as it is too much riding on us.
Correct.
Added tension नहीं चाहिए.
Mr. Jha, I'm going to actually come here talking about this education in a very different perspective. I think our education system has badly put students into a gear where they think that they all can get 100% marks. And from the time that we were all growing up, I never understood that people getting more than 75, 80% were like amazing. Now, if the children are getting, 100% and still not getting admission in their kind of colleges, I mean, they are not ready to take failure. They are not trained from the childhood to hear no. And I think it's so important for children while they're growing up on, whether it's the parenting thing we take or we talk about education, that, they cannot be 100% to everything. There's always have to be a chance of improvement. I think somewhere down, parents also have to play a role, and so has the education system, with the kind of the output that we are getting out of the youngsters these days is something to be really scared of, because they are not ready to take no for an answer. for anything?
Yeah, because our education system is system of elimination. पहले 8th में eliminate करो, फिर 10th में eliminate करो, फिर 12th में eliminate करो, फिर graduation में eliminate करो. You eliminate as much for people possible so that you don't have to give them so many jobs. And education gives you job. It is the biggest myth you can ever hear. Education only proves makes life quality of life better. They have associated it with jobs because so that they provide it to less. Imagine कल को अगर हलवाई बोल दे कि मेरे को मिठाई बनाने वाला चाहिए लेकिन पोस्ट ग्रेजुएट चाहिए, तो पोस्ट ग्रेजुएट मिठाई बनाएगा, क्या करेगा, कुछ ज्यादा डालेगा उसमें चीनी. So we just add these layers to just make things more. We have these UPSC civil services. Biharis are known for that. Today you can take a language subject called Maithili and compete because they're scoring subject. You can take Sanskrit and compete. Now imagine you competed UPSC. Tomorrow you will be sitting in district headquarters as in charge of a district, and you have zero capability of administration. You could be a very good Sanskrit scholar. Does that anyway justify? I want to make films, but I have to be a graduate to get into National Institute of Films and Drama. Why? With my graduation in physics honors help? How? That's the reason I stopped going to school long back. But we do these things purposely to eliminate, to put this fear, to put this competition. कि अरे शर्मा जी का लड़का तो कितना अच्छा कर गया. अभी शर्मा जी के लड़के को देखो कि अपने को देखो, ये एक बहुत परेशानी है. तो ये डरावने सपने हमें दिखाए जाते हैं, एंड अगर आप हमारे फोकलोर को देखेंगे ना, फोकलोर को, हमारी जो लोक कथाएं हो जिसको आप लोग बोलते होंगे, उसमें देखोगे तो वो बोलता है कि राजा को कहा गया कि तू उत्तर की तरफ मत जाना, वो उत्तर की तरफ ही गया. देयर इज ऑलवेज दिस फियर थिंग पुट. उसकी जान वहां पे खोखले में रखी हुई थी, तो वहां उसका फियर. So they always fight with this fear word, right from mythology to this. I don't know what they get out of it. डरा के क्या मिलता है? Sorry, मेरा थोड़ा हाइपर हो जाता हूँ.
So I'll actually come back to Dr. Sinha before we really close this session. Dr. Sinha, self-sabotage is one of the very, very prominent behaviors of the people who think that, failure is the only way that they can go ahead with, and they refuse to move forward, and they undermine their own chances of success and efforts. So how can this behavior be tackled at a level where at least, it doesn't go too critical for people and just start, coming forth in the everyday life negatively?
Yeah, I think
Self-sabotage, shame.
Thank you. I think it needs to be brought back to the individual themselves about figuring out, once again, who they are as individuals, what they really want. And most of the times there are much deeper, sort of traumatic words or things that have been said. Things, for example, we without realizing, we might make a comment, which is just a seed, but it grows into a tree of self-doubt and pity and all kinds of negative attitudes as we grow older and older. So if my way of life, if my familiarity, if my status quo is that constant sense of failure, मैं बेचारा, मैं this is the मैं तो ऐसा ही है, अब क्या होगा, दुनिया मेरे खिलाफ है, ये ऐसा है, वो वैसा है. So, but that is my comfort zone. So, in my own sort of comfort zone of constant not achieving what I want to achieve or doing anything, I'm comfortable in that comfort zone. So the very idea that would change, the status quo might change by suddenly, अरे अब क्या? What now? अब तो नया सोचना पड़ेगा सब कुछ, whereas my comfort zone is कि कुछ हो ही नहीं. For example, it's like when they say that for example, the dog is chasing the car. We all have experienced that. I mean, जा रहे हैं अपना स्कूटर या गाड़ी पे, पीछे से कुत्ता दौड़े हुए आ रहा है. If you suddenly stop, the dog doesn't know what to do. अचानक कुत्ता को तो रुक गया, आप क्या करें? You'll be surprised to notice that, because the dog never jumps and start, काटना शुरू नहीं करता. The dog just stops. it does not know what to do. So like we say here, if my status quo is around constantly being, told how bad things are, and if nobody's around me to tell me bad things are, then I take that place. In my life, I become my parent, I become my boss, I become my difficult relationship, and I tell myself how bad I am, how awful things are. And because if I ever succeed, then I'll become like that dog doesn't know what to do now, because my status quo was constantly chasing the car and barking. So that is an important thing, and you can see how dangerous it is, because it takes a person and it entraps their mind, and now you become a slave of that mentality for all your life. So as a society, that's why we owe it to ourselves and as a society as well, and because it's about a much bigger picture, of a healthier society that we're creating, where we are looking forward to achieving what we can achieve. I mean, failure or success and so on, I mean, that's fine, but I think we have to succeed at failing properly. Unless we succeed at failing properly in life, there is no success. And, so that's important. Thank you.
Right. Dr. Sinha, I think let's open the session for the viewers and the audience if they have. I already have one question which has come from a lady called Namita. She's saying that she has a fear of elevators. So somewhere she was in 7th standard, she had got stuck in some elevator, and today she is 38, and she finds very, very difficult to enter any elevator. So what can she do to overcome that? Being a doctor maybe, or a therapist who could help her.
Right. I mean, this wasn't supposed to be a clinical forum, but I'll just give a
But I've got a question, so I just thought, because the people
basic
are
idea.
listening.
Because when you think about it, I mean, I'm sorry, I forgot her name, Namita.
Yeah.
Namita, when you think about it, your fear or apprehension is actually grounded in rationality. I mean, it did happen. As Negi is imagining it, it did actually happen that a small child who was 6, 7 years old actually got stuck in a lift. And even now, just think about it, that is scary. So starting off by thinking that somehow, as a 6, 7-year-old, you reacted inappropriately or irrationally by being scared of getting into lifts because you actually did get stuck in one, that is where the problem starts with. Because now apparently this fear has become something that we think, oh, it's ugly, I don't have to look at it, I should stay away because I overreacted and I shouldn't have, and so on. So one never gets a chance to face the fear, so to speak. Whereas the starting point of this fear was not anything irrational, it was a very rational concern that a child would have. So I suggest as you move on from here, perhaps talking to, a psychologist or somebody, talking therapy might help.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So we have a closing remark from Bela now. We'll come back from Bela to Mr. Jha and Mr. Sinha before we wind up the session.
Yeah, I mean, it's really been interesting to be part of this session and to hear Mr. Jha, Dr. Sinha. It's wonderful to be part of this panel. So I think everything has been said. And the only thing that I would say is really that we just need to sort of take a step back, perhaps, assess for ourselves what makes us happy, what gives us an idea of being successful individually, rather than to look at ourselves through the eyes of the world. And, that is something that we can actively work towards.
Great.
Thank you.
Mr. Jha, would you want to really put some closing remarks for us?
मैं ऐसे ही बहुत बोल गया.
It was very interesting to hear you on this.
छोटा सा बात है, थोड़ा बहुत डर का होना लाजमी है. इंसान है तो थोड़ा बहुत डर होगा, लेकिन आप यकीन मान के चलिए कि हर डर का रास्ता है, हर डर का रास्ता है, हर डर से रास्ता खुलेगा, कुछ ना कुछ होगा. नहीं भी खुलेगा तो ये जिंदगी नहीं बैठ जाने वाली, ये चलेगी, सांस चलेगी. तो इससे डरना नहीं है. अभी जैसे जिन देवी ने बताया कि उनको लिफ्ट का फियर है, एंड सिन्हा साहब से कि बचपन में ऐसा हुआ। मैं 40 साल के आदमी को जानता हूँ जिसका लिफ्ट बंद हो गया आधा घंटा, वो आप चढ़ता ही नहीं है लिफ्ट में। 40 साल का
सही बात।
आदमी, मतलब इट्स नॉट ओनली चाइल्डहुड, 40 साल आदमी आधा घंटे के लिए लिफ्ट में बंद हो गया, वो नहीं जाता, 6th फ्लोर पर रहता है, पैदल चढ़ता है, पैदल उतरता है, यू नो। सो इट कैन हैपन टू एनी वन ऑफ अस, बैड सिचुएशन, बैड डीड्स, एनीथिंग, बट उसको निकालना पड़ेगा, उसको हटाना पड़ेगा किसी ना किसी तरह से। 4 बार दोस्त के साथ आएंगे जाएंगे, 4 बार बिना बताए आंख बंद करके ले जाएंगे, पट्टी बांध के ले जाएंगे, लेकिन निकाल देंगे। सर क्या होगा? गिरेंगे, मरेंगे, चोट लगेगा, ये चलता है, लाइफ है। इतना सीरियसली ले लेने का लाइफ को, तो हमको कौन सा किसी म्यूजियम में जाके रखना है किसी ने?
Yeah,
एक लाइफ है, जीजेगा उसको बढ़िया से।
correct. Mr. Sinha, Dr. Sinha?
Yes, I think my take-home message would be to not to speculate. Focus on the now. As long as you focus on the process at the moment, things will work out. Thank you.
I think indeed it
Thank
was a
you,
very,
thank you.
very, very interesting conversation. Thank you all so much. And I think fear is more in our heads rather than actually existing. And success is also all about what we feel about it rather than putting a lens what others judge us and what the success means to others about us. So let's not give the remote control in somebody else's hands and take care of what we really want to do and what we find more fulfilling rather than going by what social media says or somebody else says or any societal peer pressures or anything else. Thank you all so much. Thank you, Dr. Sinha. Thank you, Bela. Thank you, Dr. Jha. Mr.
Thank
Jha.
you.
And thank you, Grover Madam. Thank you for.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Thank
you,
you so
thank you,
much.
thank you, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. for
Thank you,
joining.
Vineeta.
Thank you.